I'm very sweaty. Hello, wizards, witches, and everyone in between. My name is Emma, and welcome back to another wrap-up. So April was insane. Lots of ups and lots of downs, but a big up about April was the fact that my husband and I moved into a house. That really hijacked the last 2 weeks of April, which is fine and is exciting and everything, but painting a house and moving into a house is very time consuming. So that being said, if the setup is a little weird and the light's kind of weird, that's why. It's my first time filming in our library room and I'm still kind of figuring things out. And being so busy in April also means that I failed the Owls readathon. And I'm not going to beat myself up about it because I had very valid reasons as to why I did not have time. So what I'm going to do is, if I do end up finishing the books that I had set on my Owls TBR, if I finish those before the Newts Readathon starts and I want to participate in the Newts Readathon, then I'll just participate in the Newts. Because at least I will have finished my TBR, so in my head I can say that I did pass my Owls for my Hogwarts professor career this year, even though I technically didn't, but readathons are supposed to be fun, and I don't want to feel like a failure. Anyway, that's what half of these books were from my Owls TBR, and then the other half were just whatever I felt like reading at the time. So let's just jump right on in. The first book that I read in April was Before the Devil Breaks You by Libba Bray, which is the third book in the Diviners series. And I gave this one 3 stars. It was definitely my least favorite. I haven't read the 4th one yet. But I don't know, and I know a lot of people it's their favorite one. But I just felt like it was really long and nothing happened. I still like the first book the best, but at least in the second book, it was really long, but a lot of stuff happened. A lot of characters got introduced, a lot of new plot lines got introduced, and this one it just felt like it dragged, and it felt like not enough happened to warrant its length. But other than that, I liked it. I mean, 3 stars, it's still a solid read. Still like all the characters and everything. I think my hold on Libby for the audiobook of the 4th and final book in the series is 2 weeks away, so I will be starting that very soon. I'm really excited to see how everything ends. So then I read The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain, and I gave this 3 stars. It's a classic that I've been meaning to read for a very long time. I can see and I understand that it's an old kids book, so I'm probably not the right audience for it, but it was fun for what it was. It was fun to follow Tom around on all of his adventures. You know, a lot of the things he does and a lot of the things he thinks are kind of like what you'd think little boys would be thinking about. And I love the whole painting the fence sequence where his aunt is like, "Yo, Tom, you gotta paint this fence, buddy." And he's like, I don't want to do that. And she's like, you have to. And he's like, we'll see. And then he goes and convinces all these other kids in his neighborhood that they want to be the ones to paint the fence. And they get all excited and they're like, "We'll paint this fence." And so he ends up getting the fence painted, but he doesn't actually have to do any of the work. And all the kids who got tricked into doing the work are so happy about it. So I love that. He's like a mini criminal mastermind. So I mean, it was simple. It was enjoyable. I don't know if I'd reread it, but I'm glad I did read it. You know, Mark Twain can be a little problematic. There is some racist things in that book that obviously I don't want to read about those things. So that was also another drawback, but it's so hard to kind of rate books on that because they weren't written now. If that was written now, it would be dragged. But you do kind of have to take in the historical context. So my ratings on classics, it's kind of hard to rate them sometimes. So then I reread Catching Fire for the Hunger Games read-along. We just had our live show for Mockingjay on my channel, this channel. I will leave the link down below. This month is obviously when The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes comes out, so we are doing our live show for that in June so that everyone has a chance to read it. That will be on Peyton's channel. I'll link all that stuff down below. But I read Catching Fire for the read-along, and I listened to it, and I hadn't listened to the audiobook at all, ever, before, and it was really good. I mean, I gave it 5 stars. Is anyone surprised? I don't think so. Catching Fire is just such a solid middle book. Like, a lot of middle books in a trilogy are like the weakest ones, but this one just perfect. Honestly, I don't even know what else to say about it. It's just perfect. It's the perfect book. Read it if you haven't read it. Next, I read Hatchet by Gary Paulson, and I gave this 3 stars. I was very excited to read Hatchet. Hatchet is a middle grade book. So Brian is 13 and he is in this small like private plane with the pilot. And he is going to visit his dad, I think, because his parents are divorced. And the pilot has a heart attack and the plane crashes and Brian is stranded in the middle of nowhere. So it starts out with a bang. So then it's kind of just Brian's story of like survival and figuring out how to get food, what kind of food he can eat versus can't eat, and things like that. And I love that kind of stuff. So I did like it for that, but I gave it 3 stars because even for middle grade, it was very short. And I feel like it could have dove deeper into some topics that it just kind of skimmed the surface of. And because it was so short, I felt like by the time the book was over, I was just getting to know Brian. And then it's like, oh, that's it. I'm like, okay. So I don't know, it felt a little superficial to me, but I can definitely see why it is, or was, I guess, a popular book for middle schoolers. I think I was just expecting more from it, but I think part of that might just be that I've been hyping it up in my head for like 15 years, so not really the book's fault. So next I read Cracked Up to Be by Courtney Summers, and I checked on Goodreads before I started filming this, and I realized that I never rated it. So that, I mean, ratings are arbitrary anyway, but that was something I was struggling with figuring out right after I finished it, and it's been like almost a month now, and I still apparently haven't figured out my rating. This book crushed my soul, but kind of in a good way. I had only read Sadie previously by Courtney Summers, and I really enjoyed Sadie. This book apparently was a book that she put out like 10 years ago, before Sadie, before all, you know, she was more of a well-known author, and the book kind of flopped, and so she what do you call it? I can't remember. I'm really tired. I can't remember the word for it, but they basically redid the cover, revamped it, and put it out again a second time. So Parker is very unlikable for most, if not all of this book, which is kind of refreshing, but at the same time, I kind of wish that by the end of it, the struggles that she went through and the parts of her life and her personality that she could identify as things that she should work on, I feel like there wasn't enough closure on some of those things. And I know that's really vague, but I don't want to give too much away, but I'm assuming, you know, a lot of YA coming of age things like this, like dark, contemporaries that tackle dark subject matter, they're kind of the same formula. This was definitely what you'd call a hard-hitting contemporary. Very, very dark subjects in this. I would definitely look up trigger warnings. It's been almost a month since I've read it, so I don't remember the trigger warnings off the top of my head. There was definitely sexual assault, and I would add, for my own personal edification, I would add a trigger warning for vomit. If you have emetophobia, like I do, there was a lot of vomiting in this, like more than what made sense. There was just a lot of vomit, and I hated that about this. But there was a lot of other things besides sexual assault. But like I said, please look that up if that's something that you are interested in reading, but you want to know more about, because I'm not the most knowledgeable on that anymore because I have a bad memory. I just remember this book started out and I was like, let's go. And by the end of it, I just like felt like I died a little inside. It was good, but it was like an emotional roller coaster, and I was so drained by the time I finished this book. And I don't think it's one that I would ever reread because I don't really want to put myself through that again. But it was also really good. So it's probably like a 4-star. If you're a fan of hard-hitting contemporaries, definitely check this one out. So next I read The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the second book in the Raven Cycle series. And I think we all know what the Raven Cycle is about, so I'm not going to summarize it. This book is very much centered on Ronan Lynch, and I like his character, but I don't know, I kind of missed, like, all the characters are in this one, but it definitely focuses on him more, and I did kind of miss getting, like, equal time for everybody in this. So that's kind of why I liked it less than the first one. I also, you know, it's like my freaking go-to phrase on this channel. We love the first book in a series. You definitely get to know a lot about Ronan Lynch that you wouldn't have thought, like, possible for him based on the info you get from the first book. Like, this one just takes it way farther than that, and I really like that about it. I just wish, you know, we got to kind of progress the character arcs of the other characters in this besides just Ronan. Maggie Stiefvater, I just love her writing so much, and I love every one of these Raven boys. And then I read Blue Lily Lily Blue, which is the third book in the Raven Cycle series. Are you proud of me? I'm actually starting and finishing a series somewhat close together. Usually it takes me years to finish a series. And I gave this one 4 stars. It was really, really good. Nothing can beat the first one. Nothing can ever beat the first book in a series, but this is probably going to be my second favorite. I'm currently listening to the final book in the series, and so far I really like it, but it can't really top this. This one is so good. I wish it was longer. It's like the shortest one, and that makes me really sad. This one just definitely had a better balance between all of the characters, and there was a lot of Gansey, which I love, and unpopular opinion, but I also really, really like Adam, and there was a lot of Adam in this. So yes. Then I read Yo by Junji Ito, and this is a horror manga. I have never read a horror manga previously, but one of my friends loaned this to me because he thought that I would like it, and I did. I did not give this a rating because I feel weird rating graphic novels and mangas and things like that, just because there's more to it than just the writing, you know, and the plot. It's like having drawings just adds this whole other thing, and I'm not really an art person, so I don't want to try and like critique someone's art style. Like, that is not my place. So I didn't rate it. So this is about this city, or it might be an island, that one day this guy and his girlfriend are hanging out chilling, and they start to smell this really, really bad smell that smells like death. And like they can't get rid of it no matter what. Then these like mutant creature things start showing up, like fish with like weird spider legs. And later there's like sharks that are walking on these like mechanical contraptions, and the stench comes out of like the gas in their bodies. So they like breathe it out, and they also fart it out. So yeah, they're like trying to figure out like how to kill these things, and then they just keep coming, and they're coming from like, you know, all over. I think it has to be an island city, because it's like, how do you avoid it? And then I think if you get attacked, then you kind of turn into one. So it makes for some pretty weird drawings. But yeah, so it starts out with like this fish with legs. That's like the first thing that they see, and then it turns into, you know, a bunch of sea creatures, a bunch of people. I enjoyed it. I did think, you know, it had some cool like suspenseful, you know, how do we fix this problem that's like overrunning the city kind of thing, and I do like that kind of plot line. You know, parts of it were really creepy. I do think though that the, you know, horror of it is mainly body horror, which I don't love in movies, but it's more palatable for me in like manga form or drawing form, especially when it's in black and white. But that doesn't really just scare me. It just kind of grosses me out. So I didn't really find it to be like scary or anything, but I did still really like it. I found it really compelling. So yes, if you're interested in horror manga, I would definitely give this one a go, but I can recognize that it is not for everybody. And there you have it. Those are the books that I read in April. A lot less than I'd hoped, but it is what it is. I hope you guys had a good April reading month. Let me know if you've read any of these and what you have thought. I'm gonna go grab a huge glass of ice water because it's hot today. I'm very sweaty, in case you wanted to know. I hope you guys are doing well. Please stay safe and I will see you later. Bye!